Hey everybody, it's Leero from Leero Gaming, and I'm here to bring you my final subclass guide for the fighter class. We're going to be looking at the champion subclass. Do note, as my other guides, we're not going to be looking at racial options here or really touching base on the skill proficiencies. That's going to be determined on whether this character is going to be your main class or one of your companions, for example. Instead, we're going to be focusing on ability points and the progression from level 1 to 12. I'll provide some general feedback on type of equipment that works well for the class towards the end, and also some thoughts on multi-classing with the class towards the end as well. Now, starting with fighter at level 1, you're not going to get to pick your subclass yet. You will start with the second win action, which is very nice. As a bonus action, you basically get a nice little self-heal. Additionally, you're going to get to pick a fighting style. There's 6 of them. The first one is archery, gains a +2 bonus to range weapon attacks. Defense is my default go-to, just gives you +1 bonus to armor class while wearing any type of armor. Dueling is interesting when wielding a melee weapon that is not two-handed or versatile. Now do note, versatile is any weapon that, like a long sword, that it will change how much damage it does and whether you wield with one hand or two hands. So as long as you use a one-handed weapon in one hand and no weapon in the other, you get 2 additional damage you deal with that weapon. Do note, this does not mean your second hand needs to be empty. You can use a shield, so it's primarily utilized for a fighter for a one-handed weapon and a shield setup. Great weapon fighting. When you roll a 1 or 2 damage on a die for an attack with a two-handed melee weapon, the dice are rerolled once. Do note it says once. So there's still basically a 1 in 3 chance that you're going to roll a 1 or 2 again. Protection, not as useful in my opinion. When you have a shield, impose disadvantage on an attack against your allies. When you're within 1.5 meters, you must be able to see the attacker. Again, because you have to be so close together, not as popular, especially as bunching up in this game is not very recommended, as the AI is really good at throwing AoE and casting AoE effects against bunched up players. And then you have 2-weapon fighting. When you make an attack with your offhand weapon, you add your ability modifier to damage of the attack. It's very important because by default, if you dual wield, you do not get your damage modifier off the second hand. And then let's talk about ability scores. My universally recommended setup for the fighter is 16 strength. This is going to be your most important stat for calculating damage with most of the weapons that you potentially could use. Dexterity I like to keep at 10. You are likely to use heavy armor because you have access to it for the best AC. Do note, anything over 10 will not give you any benefit to armor class for wearing heavy armor, but if you go lower, like if you drop this to 8, that -1 will count, so don't recommend doing that. Never hurts to have high constitution, so 16 constitution is great. You can dump intelligence. I notice I have 14 wisdom. This is for 2 reasons. Number 1, because wisdom saves are important. This affects a lot of mind affecting spells against you. And also because perception is a universally useful skill that helps you find secrets in the world. Getting a bonus to that is always helpful. And then charisma at 10. This is my general recommendation. At level 2, the main benefit you get is Action Surge. This is something where you can utilize and then you have to rest to get it back, but you immediately gain extra action to use this turn. So even at low levels, you can have situationally an extra attack, so double attack, or cast a spell if you multiclass, etc. This is why, as I'll mention at the end, it's very popular to sometimes pick specifically 2 levels in a fighter when multiclassing to get to this special feature. Level 3, you finally get to choose your subclass and champion. You approach the complex problems posed by combat with one distinct effective solution. Hit these problems really quite hard. And the way this translates at level 3 is to improve critical hit. So the number you need to roll a critical hit while attacking is reduced by 1. This effect can stack. And I have seen pieces, I found a bow and other pieces of equipment that can give you the same effect. So basically what it does statistically, every time you have an improved critical hit effect like this, it increases your chance to crit by 5%. So with this, you now crit instead of on a 20, it's 19 or 20. And then if you get other effects, you could even get 18 or 17 plus. And in this game, when you critical hit, you double the amount of dice you roll for the damage and any other bonuses for damage. So it can critical hits can be a really effective way of increasing your damage, especially if you use a nice big two-handed weapon. At level 4, you're gonna get your first feat. Now, ability improvement is never a bad way to go for a fighter. Also, especially if you're going to go two-handed build, great weapon master, very popular. When you land a critical hit or kill a target with a melee weapon attack, you can make another melee weapon attack as a bonus action that turn. So this is a great way to get a lot of extra actions over the game, especially if you're increased chance of critting. This is very, very good. And you can also enable the special attacks, basically special passive, where attacks with heavy melee weapons you are proficient with, and you're proficient with basically all weapons here, all martial weapons especially. So they're going to deal an additional 10 damage at the cost of -5 to attack rolls. Because you get to see the percentage chance to hit on your effects, it is important to note you can have this enabled. And if you don't feel comfortable with your percentage chance to hit, you can always disable this and it'll show you the updated amount. So this is very, very effective. Also, two other ones, if you're going to go two-handed weapon setup, Polearm Master, also very effective. When attacking with glaives, halberds, quarterstaffs, or spears, you can use a bonus action to attack with the butt of your weapon. And you can also make an opportunity attack when a target comes within range. This is very helpful because glaives and halberds, for example, have the extended range, and so instead of within 5 feet, it's the equivalent of 10 feet normally. So as enemies approach you, before they can even get in range of you, or if they're trying to walk past you, you're going to be able to get reaction attacks on them. Very, very potent. Also, Savage Attacker is great. When making weapon attacks, you roll your damage dice twice and use the highest results. And then special bonus mention for Lucky. You gain 3 luck points, which you can use to gain advantage on attack rolls, ability checks, or saving throws, or make an enemy reroll their attack rolls. So this can come up as kind of like a reaction option. So if you were to fail a certain roll, you'll be given the opportunity to utilize this. So this can be very, very effective. But if you're not sure what to choose, you cannot go wrong with upping your primary stat by 2 points, at least until you hit 20. At level 5, you can make an additional free attack after making an unarmed or weapon attack. So this is very popular. This is why also level 5 is another popular stopping point if you're going to use fighters for a martial effect, and then maybe you go pure caster for other levels, maybe classes that don't get that extra attack at level 5. So this potentially doubles your damage at this point as a fighter. At level 6, you're going to get an extra feat. Again, important to note, fighters, unlike any other class, are going to get a couple extra feats. The first one is level 6. Normally you only get them at 4, 8, and 12. So this lets you either max out your primary stat to 20 much faster, effectively as quickly as level 6, or you can pick any of the other potential feats. And again, I mentioned at the level 4 section some of my top recommendations for fighter. At level 7, you get 2 extra subclass features. First one is Remarkable Athlete Proficiency. You're a master of your own body. Your athletic prowess extends beyond the usual. You can add half of your proficiency bonus to any strength, dexterity, and constitution checks that you're not proficient in. So this is one of those things, because as a fighter you don't get that many skills to pick from to be proficient in. This makes you a little bit more diversified with these checks. There's not that many. I think there's only 1 strength check, but dexterity and constitution, especially the dexterity options, this is gonna make it so, I mean, in theory you could like disarm traps, for example, or go more stealthy, but again, this is not as universally useful because you're unlikely to be, be high enough in those based off your stats to be super effective. but you also get a remarkable athlete jump. You're a master of their own body. Your athlete prowess extends beyond the usual. Your jump distance is increased by 3 meters. So this is definitely effective. There's a lot of places you can jump to in this game to get either to secrets or to get tactical advantages. And then you can utilize either spells if you multi-class or other feats like I believe athletic that it can increase your jump distance even more if you want to go that route. At level 8 you get another feat. Now again, as I mentioned, level 7 you got that increase to your jump option, which did want me to bring up athletic as an option for a feat. This would increase your strength or dex by 1 to maximum 20. This would be mainly effective obviously before you hit level stats of 20 in strength, for example. It would be an option especially if you chose to pump your strength to 17, a needed way to pump it to 18 for an even number when leveling up. Big bonus here is when you are prone, standing up uses 50% less movement, basically, or a lot less than that 50% movement that you need. But your jump distance also increases by 50%. So this includes your base distance based off your strength stat, as well as it calculates that 3 meters extra from that level 7 passive, which will turn that into 4.5 meters. So this is a great way to be able to jump around like crazy, get to higher areas for vantage points or find secret areas or alternate ways of getting around sections. So again, something to consider. At level 9, the big thing is you get the class feature called Indomitable. You have become durable as an iron golem. Whenever you fail a saving throw, you can roll again using the new result instead. Do note this is something that all the subclasses get, but again, it's good and a pinch. If you were to fail a saving throw, gives you another chance at it. At level 10, unlike any of the other subclasses, the big thing is you get another fighting style. So this can be quite helpful. At this point, again, normally defense is the number one option, but then depending how you're building, whether, for example, if you're going one-handed weapon and shield, dueling would be nice. If you're going with two-handed focus, great weapon fighting helps. Or if you happen to be dual wielding, this could help out, but normally you probably want to take this at a lower level because taking this all the way at level 10 is a long time to wait to increase the damage of dual wielding. I do want to point out dual wielding in Baldur's Gate 3 is way weaker because of the way the mechanics and different feats and itemization of this game is than if you were to go with a two-handed setup. So my personal recommendation, go sword and board or go with the two-handed weapons, in which case pick either great weapon fighting or dueling, in my opinion. At level 11, like the other fighter subclasses, you get improved extra attack. So you can make 2 additional attacks after attacking with your main hand weapon. So again, big damage boost if you've committed all the way to level 11 with the fighter. And finally at level 12, if you've committed all the way to this class, you're going to get an extra feat. So pick whichever feat is your preference here. Now talking about equipment, the big thing here, again, like all the fighter classes, one of the main benefits is that you get access to heavy weapon proficiency, or heavy weapon armor rather. So I recommend heavy armor for you. Either choose going a nice two-handed weapon for your damage source, or if you want to go extra tanky, go again one-handed plus a shield that's really effective. Everything else you just want to build situationally to support your play style. Now talking about multiclassing, the fighter is very popular for a lot of different builds. You can always, if you pick it at level 1, you're going to get the most benefits from this class because you're going to, number 1, get constitution proficiency. This is important because when it comes to, if for example you multiclass to a caster that has to concentrate on spells, when you take damage you have to do a constitution save, and proficiency is going to increase that amount, more or less likely to get disrupted. Also, going just one level is going to get that extra bonus heal if you go, and also all martial weapons. So if you're a wizard and you want to kind of do a different, more going a little further than just an Eldritch Knight, you can start with one level of fighter, then go wizard and get a lot more spellcasting potential while still being able to wield heavy armor, potentially two-handed weapons, or one-handed weapon and shield. And then, of course, you can go a little further, going to level 2 to get Action Surge, very, very popular if you just want 2 level dips. And you can still go to level 3. Champion is popular if you're going to go 3-point dip, because getting that increased chance to crit is very useful. At that point, you could go to 4 to get your feat. This is only if you want to make sure that you max out your 3 feats. But otherwise, very, very popular to just go 1, 2, or 3 option in Fighter. Alright guys, so that will do it with my third and final build guide for the Fighter. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please drop a like. If you have any questions or comments on the guide, please leave them in the comments. I do want to get your feedback. I'll be doing all the classes for it. So I'll be checking comments if there's anything that really stands out and gets repeated. I'll try and make adjustment or changes for future guides as necessary. As always, if you want to see more BG3 content and follow with the channel, subscribe. And as always, guys, thank you for all your support, and I'll see you in the next video.